Hello, internet friends. My name is Bay. Welcome back to the Shadowlands Alpha First Pass coverage testing videos. This is the Windwalker Monk. And like I prefaced over also in the Mistweaver video, I've been changing all my audio settings and things and getting things sorted. So things might be a little bit rough right now, but hopefully I can get things all sorted in the next couple of recordings. I'm just sort of using these as a background test to make sure everything is good and the levels are still the same. Most of it, my actual vocal audio sounds better, which I think so far it does. But also don't judge my tent. This character is a monk first and a tent maker second. Also, we can't use our undead character from the previous videos because undead are now locked as of the current build because they're putting in their new customizations. So we made a Volpera because chat was obviously, yeah. I mean, I just did it because I thought it would be funny, but animations look fine. And overall, I think that's basically how the Windwalker is. It's fine. And we'll go over all those major changes, of course, herein. But first, the reason why I'm still sitting here, of course, your support, hitting the subscribe button here on YouTube if you would like to, or checking that description box down below for one thing in particular. As you see, I'm changing things around. So I'm wearing a different pair of headsets right now. Well, a different pair? I'm wearing a different headset, but you get the idea. The Virtuoso from Corsair. I am a partner and they are sponsoring my channel with a whole bunch of different stuff. We just did a recent giveaway a little while ago over on my Twitter. And this is the headset I'm currently wearing, of course. I am going to be trying out the new scimitar because all the different buttons on the side. It's going to be a funny one because the joke right now is that you have to use a MMO mouse, right, to have the ability to play Shaman in Shadowlands. But if you're looking for any bits and bobs or pieces and parts for an upcoming build or upgrades for one currently, then consider supporting what I do directly. There's a link down below in the description box, as well as a discount code. If you go through that link and then use the code at checkout, my tent disappeared, 10% off and free shipping for your entire order on Corsair peripherals or Elgato gear. You can do it for either or. Both have separate links down below, and that'll help me out and keep me doing what I'm doing here on the internet. That's how that whole relationship works. I've been a huge Corsair fangirl for a very long time, and before I got signed with them a little over a year ago. So today, though, we're going to talk about the Windwalker Monk. And kind of like Mistweaver, there isn't a ton to talk about. We can talk about how there's a world quest in the Maw, but we'll move that for now. Is a lot of what you have right now on live is predicated, or at least not forced, but it's smushed in to the ToD window, the Touch of Death window. And that's what I'm going to jump to on my notes here, because that's the biggest first thing I think that changes out how anything here works. And there are still some pain points. You only have one new talent option right now, but we do know that class changes and iteration will happen. It's very early on still, so don't freak out. Everything is alpha and still subject to change. Obviously, give feedback in the proper channels. Mature, constructive feedback, not just like, it's bad. But the Touch of Death window is no more. GALEBURST, which was definitely a holdover from Legion into the current way that Touch of Death works for you in the BFA environment, was fun, but maybe because of overall interactions with Monk, maybe not so fun. Maybe because of a weird Whirling Dragon Punch 0.2 second window on Storm Earth and Fire that you get full damage into a Touch of Death window and all of their shenanigans. And yeah, so Touch of Death now is back to its sort of base old school form. And I actually had fun with this. If you check the description box down below, there will of course be the entire dungeon run. I do a dungeon run on every single spec. And then they're all linked in the description of those videos, especially with I do like the wrap up video. That dungeon run, which I used for that footage, is also there as well as the spec that I play it on, etc., etc. It's all down below. And of course, the channel guide, which is linked down below as well. That is where all of the overall testing goes. All the giant VODs, all of the testing streams, all the wrap-up videos, they're all linked there. Touch of Death was fun in the dungeon for multiple reasons. A, it lights up when things get low health and you're like, oh, right? So then you just like slam that button down. And secondly, on like big dungeon bosses, it's not going to be used once. But what it says here, instantly kills creatures if they have less health than you. It's kind of scuffy with on the back end, it will not kill targets less health than you that are higher level than you. So like elites and rare mobs like that are always like maybe 61s or 62s and bosses are always 63. On those mobs, it will deal 35% of your maximum health against players and those mobs I just talked about when they're under 15% health, like an execute essentially. But unless the execute phase from 15% to dead lasts more than 3 minutes, you'll get 1 use out of it. Additionally, what's not in the spellbook here, it's a extra rank up of Touch of Death. And this happens for all the monks. I did not even mention this in the previous video, so I'll go over it, of course, in the overall wrap-up monk video. But Touch of Death works with all monks to do something integral? Yes, important to the overall rotation or how that monk plays. We're going to run down here and find a mob real quick to slap with some Touch of Death. I did this in the Mistweaver video as well, but that one wasn't hooked up. This one is hooked up, and there's a GIF down below also showing it works from another perspective. But Touch of Death for Windwalker, when you use it, not when you kill the target, although this random mob about to go ruin its day is going to die from this, like this poor butterfly. I'm sorry, but goodbye. Spawns chi spheres, 3 of them. Bloop, bloop, bloop. This happens when you use the ability as the execute, or of course when you kill the target. And this of course would stack in some way with the afterlife effect. Like when you kill a thing with a blackout kick, you get the 50% chance to get a chi sphere. And of course the healing sphere, when you kill a mob, you saw the healing sphere drop right there on the mob itself. I think I immediately ate it, right? Yeah, I immediately ate it because it was close enough to me. So spheres and the whole Chi Orb situation is definitely coming back. And with Touch of Death for Windwalker, like I said, it gives you 3. For Mistweaver, I would assume spawn 3 to 5 healing spheres. And for the Brewmaster Monk, look at this little backpack. It removes stagger based on 200% of the damage done or something ridiculous. But that's just when you use it. So that's just to confirm the touch, unless it's not working as intended, the Touch of Death mechanic is supposed to work using it, not having to kill the target. Otherwise it would just be damage on a boss and be totally
uninteractable.
But that's a big one, right? So the Gale Burst window is gone. Other little things here that we can look at that are also baseline. You're going back to be able to use 2-handers. Okay? And it doesn't even show up on my back because of this stupid backpack. But you can 2-hand again as a Mistweaver monk. Well, as any monk, I guess. All monks can 2-hand or dual wield. But obviously certain abilities won't work if you have either one of those on, from the standpoint of at least the Brewmaster and the Windwalker monk. Everything works except the biggest ability. Also, you notice the animation there is busted. I don't know if that's a Volpera thing or not. There we go. You cannot Fist of Fury with a 2-hander right now. That's, of course, a bug, which means if you can't Fist of Fury, you can't Rolling Dragon Punch. So some things are definitely not hooked up with it all the way. I also don't know what the benefit of it's going to be. There's going to be a back-end amount of math that'll change with how... Actually, it doesn't show up because it's my freaking fist weapon. Transmog broke it, maybe. I don't know. Or it's the backpack. There it is. Maybe it's the backpack. But you're going to have a weird time figuring that out because your damaging attacks will do more damage because the DPS in the attack power calculation will have potentially more damage per second in it, because normally 2-handers have higher DPS, but they swing slower. So I don't know if that's going to be the case, but you're going to immediately lose a weapon enchant. Unless Blizzard changes it to you can only use 1 weapon enchant. And it all goes on your main hand. Like, all casters only have 1 weapon enchant. Why do dual-wielding melee have 2? But dual-wielding also incurs the offhand, or quote-unquote, not offhand penalty anymore. It's just the dual-wield penalty of missing. You never miss auto attacks with a 2-hander. We actually looked at this today rather extensively. I just sat here, and there's a miss right there. You don't miss 2-handed weapon attacks, but you miss when you dual wield. So that's something to keep in mind. I don't know if it's even going to be better to 2-hand. The one thing that was brought up in chat today by Hina one of the members of the monk community brought up that it's easier for gearing purposes. It's easier to get a two-hander during progression or when you're gearing up, wherever you are, Mythic Plus, PvP, whatnot. And then eventually you can get to two one-handers to dual wield. That might be the way it'll work. I'm not entirely sure. But that's sort of the big thing there. And let's see, what else we have here? Oh, Expel Harm is back. Right now it's like, okay. It heals you instantly, 15-second cooldown, 15 energy, and does 10% of the healing you receive as nature damage to an enemy within 8 yards. The version of this for Mistweaver, as I went over that previous video, is that they get to do it on their target, and it will heal themselves and their target, doubling the healing it does, which means it does more damage. But the damage is really, really kind of tiny. But an extra little utility button to hit, maybe on the move when you're walking away from something that you can heal yourself with, is definitely a little bit of flavor, potentially. And the other thing to heal yourself with, or to survive, is the Fortifying Brew being brought over here to both the Mistweaver and the Windwalker Monk. It's a 2-minute cooldown, up from 90 seconds on live, and it's 15% max health and damage reduction for 15 seconds. On live, it's a 90-second cooldown. And then it's a 20/20, which is only Mistweaver has that. You don't have that as a Windwalker Monk, so you have that now. There is some talk. I will link down below in the Peak of Serenity community. You know, Babylonius. He made a giant post about initial thoughts and feelings towards Shadowlands stuff. That'll be linked down below in the description box. So he'll, of course, expound upon more things from a very seasoned monk perspective, whereas mine, obviously, I have a monk. I did the Mage Tower on all 3 characters back in Legion. I know more about monk. It's a energy class, but chi is not combo points. I'll slap you if you say they are. So, even though it says combo strikes right here, doesn't really help my argument. But Fortifying Brew coming back and good karma still existing. There was some initial discussion, at least in his post, about how you could cheese Touch of Karma even more so, where you would stack good karma into a Fortifying Brew window to give you more health that allows you to transfer more damage in Touch of Karma when you stand in the bad. Honestly, though, I mean, people have done sillier stuff for less, and that is a thing. Although, really, I don't know. That seems like super... Ugh. You want to use your 2 defensives to live... Cries and Shaman. Additionally, you're going to see that Xuen is baseline now. If you watch the previous monk video, and of course if you watch the next coming up monk video, all the monks have their own summon baseline. And the Crack Bird becomes Crack Dragon for the Mistweaver, which we'll see if that actually gets iterated upon, because that currently is like not all hooked up yet anyway. But you do have Invoke Xuen, and Xuen summons and attacks things. Get back in there, you big blue tiger boy. We talk about how Crackling Jade Lightning and Xuen are different color lightning. Whatever. Glyph it. And there's still the Xuen problems. Having it baseline as a Fire and Forget is one of them. At least, Cries and Enhancement Shaman, at least as a baseline, essentially Fire and Forget Searing Totem, it lasts for 25 seconds. And it also AoEs. The nature damage AoE that Xuen does, whereas Feral Spirits for enhancement, not to go off on a tirade on something else, they just attack the target and do nothing. No resource, no AoE, no healing, no movement speed, no nothing. So at least your Xuen, A, looks cooler, let's be honest, he's a tiger covered in lightning, and the AoEs. So there's something else there. I had some juicy AoE pulls in the dungeon footage where I had Xuen, I popped SEF, I had multiple stacks of Way of the Crane, went off with a whole wombo combo of, as of course you imagine, which is the Fist of Fury into a Spinning Crane Kick, into a Rolling Dragon Punch, just like blasting with Xuen out there, crackling his Jade Lightning around too. Maybe followed up with a Hadouken. Wrong button. There it is. So the burst AoE potential is definitely there and not there. Kind of. The game is changing, right? So we already talked about how Spinning Crane Kick in the previous video, if you watched that one, but if you're first time here, hello, my name's Bay. Spinning Crane Kick 6 target cap, which is weird because of Way of the Crane. And Babs talked about this as well with, it's actually on the tooltip, isn't it? Yeah, Way of the Crane goes up to 50% additional damage with stacks of your Way of the Crane, right? With your Tiger Palm and stuff like that. Hitting anything, stacking that up, that debuff right here. So there is already a built-in, I guess, cap on that one. But all monks get spinning crane kick now, and you just saw the proc of the Dance of Chi, which is your Azurite trait rolled in baseline now. So there's something there where, and again, your AoE is ridiculous on top of the fact that you have all those things you line up together. Fists of Fury is main target +5, so also target capped essentially at 6, right? And Whirling Dragon Punch, however, is all nearby. But that's a talent, right? So that is like a big end tier talent. And this is the problem that also comes back up, the major pain point between Serenity and Spiritual Focus being pretty poo-poo pants. So thoughts about like maybe hit combo should come down here, and then they balance hit combo to work with these three, because hit combo essentially is just a multiplier on combo strikes, your mastery. Whirling Dragon Punch going up here makes it a rotational AoE versus a constant AoE, which you keep up, RJW, which is normally just not picked because it's just weak, or it's extra button bloat that you don't need. And then Dance of Chi, which if you're familiar with right now, it's that spending Chi has a chance to make your next spinning crane kick free and deal additional damage. On live, it just deals like a flat amount extra. This is 200% more currently in alpha numbers. But you can combine getting a proc of Dance of Chi, you probably want proc right now, with, of course, having Way of the Crane stacked up. I'm just gonna see if I can just force it to proc with just spamming Blackout Kick, which I'm sure looks awful. I'm almost trying to see if it'll just proc. Damn it. Probably won't, though. Is that they had to probably rein it back in somewhat. And if you watch the dungeon footage of any of the runs I've been doing, or have been hanging out when I've been running dungeons on stream, Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern, is it really, you don't pull like a bajillion mobs. And the times you do, everyone is AoEing anyway. And every time your AoE obviously ticks and goes off, you're not only AoEing those same 5 mobs each time. Every time your AoE pulses, it's going to hit different things. There it is. So it looks like Chi Torpedo for some reason, but you have a 15-second window, so you can make sure you get that. And you go, okay, I'm going to tab over here and get Way of the Crane. Go over here and get Way of the Crane. Right? I got parried. There we go. And then, blah, 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 right? So you put that extra damage behind the 2. So that's probably why they reined it back in to make it a 6 target cap, because of things like that. And trying to hold down the ridiculous burst AoE that could be possible. We did talk about, of course, Demon Hunters exist today. And we were looking at some napkin math where Fist of Fury is just better than I-Beam. Like almost all the time. But people were like, oh, I-Beam. Now, big like Fell Devastation is a bit different thing, depending on how that works but that's Vengeance, right? And then Fell Barrage, I don't know, haste scaling on that, but Fist of Fury also haste scales, right? Because the more haste you have, the faster it channels, and that's when you regen your energy. It's there, but I didn't feel like we were lacking any AoE, considering that you have Stormwrath and Fire on the 2 charges. But that's the point of Spiritual Focus, right? At least that's the intended purpose of this talent, is supposed to have more SEF windows for more AoE, and Serenity is the huge burst window, but also because of the weird problems with SEF, you don't want to take Serenity anymore now, but if they fix those, maybe they would. That's like the long and short of it. Also, why is Good Karma on a row with Ring of Peace and Tiger Tail Sweep? I don't know. Maybe Inner Strength, I suggested, should go baseline, but only at 1%. Just so when you do your rotation properly, you get 1% times 5. And then just put Good Karma down here. So you have to compete with your 3 big defensives, because obviously Diffuse and Dampen Harm are good and where they're useful. But this is weird. Tiger Tail Sweep also may not be as mandatory, even though it's a little bit better. One of the small adjustments to Monk is that Leg Sweep is now 6 yards, up from 5. Peppa Hands. It's 1 more yard in your overall AoE range. So that's helpful, sure. And the last note that I have is that combat conditioning is returning. Currently, it's not in the game. That is the extra healing on you and the dot from Blackout Kick when you're behind the target. That is returning in a future build. Currently is not hooked up yet, as there is no dot right there. So, I mean, you could have Eye of the Tiger and the Blackout Kick heals on you. So that's pretty good. Cries and Shaman. The heals are going to be really low, but, you know, helpful when the Garage. A lot of for like single target fights potentially, or for world questing, open world content, stuff like that. Torghast, self-healing is going to be obviously important because you're not going to stand around and cast Vivifying yourself, right? You can. Sending your little poofy fart cloud there. But those are the target caps. I already went over the weirdness. And yeah, that's about everything for Windwalker Monk, honestly. And a lot of fun. Out of all the specs I played currently in the dungeon runs, that was actually really fun. Just playing Windwalker, because it just moved together really easily. It didn't have a whole lot of weird wonkiness that some of the other specs have had that I don't know, because I don't was muscle memory, and obviously staring down at the bottom base bars of classes in the default UI is not great. But I think Windwalker not being tied to the GALEBURST+ToD window was helpful. I still think Blizzard needs to definitely get on the SEF weirdness. Maybe move some talents around a little bit. Mostly it's like just Whirling Dragon Punch, baseline it, maybe move it potentially. I don't know. But then if you had to pick between Whirling Dragon Punch and Dance of Chi-Ji, that might be a bit of a pain point that would just form because Dance of Chi-Ji is pretty fun. That extra little bit of something, right? Because the rotation of Windwalker is very, you know, AB, AC, AD, AE, kind of a rotation, right? That balancing act, right? The whole combo strike's purpose is that you are never hitting the same ability back to back. Well, it's like Tiger Palm, but not with hit combo, right? Hit combo locks you in, which may be why it should be down here. Curious. I'm curious what you think. What do actual seasoned Windwalker monks feel about the current changes coming to your class? Do you like being not tied to the ToD GALEBURST window, or do you miss it? But you always have your big lightning-y tiger-y boy now, so I mean, you can't complain about that too. He's stuck in the train, dummy. There you go. Check out the link below, of course, if you're looking for any bits and bobs and parts and pieces for an upcoming build. New Corsair mouse, for example, or a really, really nice headset. I can't speak. Or I'm a K70 fan myself. I have 2 of these keyboards. If you're looking for a new keyboard for the next expansion, I can save you a little bit off that, of course, and prep you for the next expansion. Or if you're looking for a stream deck, I finally have my stream deck all set up from Elgato. I don't know. I have so many things that I control on this thing now. It's a pre-programmable macro deck. You can make this do whatever you want. You don't have to even be a broadcaster to make use of this freaking stream deck. But it's so powerful and nice. Let me put my products beside me here. But that's it. Thank you very much for listening. Again, my name has been Bay. And I will see you all in the next Shadowlands Alpha video. We got Brewmaster up next.